Welcome to the D1 Diary. I'm Madison Donley.
And I'm Skylar Schellmeyer.
This podcast is to give current and former athletes at the collegiate or professional level the light to share their individual and personal stories about life during athletics and everything behind the scenes.
Although the landscape of college athletics is ever changing, we want to give these athletes the opportunity to discuss the real thoughts and effects of what happens inside the minds of collegiate athletes. All right, welcome back to the D1 Diary. Today's episode will be joined by the wonderful Danielle Williams. Danielle recently graduated from Northwestern, playing softball for 5 years. Danielle and I are actually teammates together, and we just got done this past June, and Danielle is a great teammate, and I'm really excited for this upcoming episode. Just to recap some of Danielle's stats, she is Northwestern's all-time wins leader with 106. She posted a career 2.10 ERA in 174 appearances, which is the most in program history. She has over 1,000 strikeouts, which is fourth in program history, 4-time first team All Big Ten, 866 innings pitched, 2022 NFCA First Team All-American, 2022 unanimous Big Ten Pitcher of the Year, which is the first in Northwestern history, 2019 NFCA National Freshman of the Year, which is also the first in Big Ten history, and 2019 Big Ten Freshman of the Year. So as you can see, Danielle is a very, very amazing softball player and an even better person, and we are excited to have her. Again, I'm Skylar Schellmeyer.
I'm Madison Donley. Thank you so much for coming out here today, Danielle. My first question for you is, I know you're a California native, so big softball state. Can you tell me how you got into playing softball?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. My sister, who is 5 years older than me, also played at Northwestern. She started playing from a young age, before I was born possibly, but my parents also coached my sister growing up, so I was like in the back of the dugout when my sister was playing and my parents were coaching first and third base. So I was kind of just born into it. I probably started when I was like 6 or 7, and every pitching lesson that my sister would go to, I'd be in the next lane over, copying her, wanting to be just like her.
Did your parents, were they softball players as well, or was that kind of just a random thing they threw both of you in?
My mom played. She played all the way through high school. If you asked her, she would say she played at Stanford. But she played through high school and traveled for that and absolutely loved it. My dad, I actually thought he played baseball, but he did not. He played soccer and track, I think. So, yeah, just my mom. But they learned so much about the game, so it was very helpful.
And then just to regroup, your sister went to Northwestern, but I know you were committed to a different school before Northwestern. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I started the recruiting process in 8th grade and committed to the University of Missouri my freshman year, like fall. I wanted to go to a school in a country type of area, SEC type of vibe, and I realized throughout high school that's not necessarily what I wanted, especially for after college. I didn't really realize how important an education was, because I was an 8th grader. Like, yeah. Why are we going through that process in 8th grade, honestly? But seeing what my sister was going through really helped me realize like my priorities and what I wanted in a school. And so I realized Northwestern has a great program, such a good culture, and amazing academics. So I decided to decommit from Missouri and go to Northwestern.
That's so cool that you had her to look up to.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's one of my best friends. So it's interesting because I wanted to follow in her footsteps, be just like her, but she played outfield and I was a pitcher. She was a slapper and I hit and I attempted to slap, but never really was allowed.
Can you talk more about having your sister play before you? And I know you didn't get to play with her at all, but what was that like, maybe with our coaches, and what was that experience for you?
I would say it's interesting because we talk about the things we went through and how similar and how different they are and how the coaches have changed over the year. I would say Ellis helped going in.
For reference, our coach, Kate, she has a daughter. Her name is Ellis.
Ellis made Kate soft.
Yes.
That is so funny how that happens, though. I feel like coaches in the beginning of their careers start as such hardos, and then, like, 10 years down the line, either when they have kids or they get comfortable coaching, some of the things they implemented in the beginning of their career, they start to come around and be a lot more reasonable.
Yeah.
What was it like just having your sister previously there, and like, do you feel that maybe impacted your relationship with the coaches and or just your overall experience at Northwestern?
I think it was helpful because whenever we have like camps, the question is asked to the alums and current players, like who has been to camp before, like who has participated in the camp, and I'm like one of the only ones that doesn't raise their hand because I am from California. And so having my sister come here 5 years before me helped me build a relationship with them that I probably wouldn't have been able to do if my sister wouldn't have come here. So I think that was helpful. And then it also was very nice that Kate, Carol, and Michelle all understood that Krista, my sister, and I are different people, and she's so incredibly smart.
So are you, Danielle.
Oh,
come on.
No. She like is crazy, but they just wanted our experience at Northwestern to be different, and like we weren't compared at all and all that. So that was very nice.
Do you think it helped that you guys played two totally different positions? Or do you think that was never a factor in the way that you were treated differently as people?
I honestly don't know, because I did play a little outfield, as Sky knows, and like, her name was never brought up or anything, but I feel like pitching, you're looked at a lot more just because like you're throwing the ball every time. Like you get the ball, you have like control of what the batter does. If you give up a home run, oh, like that was Danielle, or oh, that's the pitcher, whatever. So I think if we're pitchers, both pitchers, possibly, but I don't think it would have changed anything, honestly.
I am so interested in the fact that your sister was already enrolled at Northwestern. In the meantime, you were committed to Missouri. So knowing Northwestern and the program and how committed they are to like family and having all of our family members around, like I'm sure you were around the Northwestern program quite a bit and around the coaches, meanwhile being committed to Missouri. So do you feel like the coaches were trying to recruit you also actively when your sister was there, but you were already committed to Missouri? Like kind of talk about that dynamic and how that swayed you more towards Northwestern.
They asked if they could keep talking to me after a certain period of time. I don't remember when it was, but she asked if she could keep talking to me to recruit me, and I said yes, because things were coming up at Missouri. I just like wasn't sure if it was a place for me. And then also being around the parents and the coaches, you could tell they were trying to get like you on their side. But we hosted a dinner, my parents did, for the team when they were in Santa Clara, which is like 45 minutes from where I live in Pleasanton, and they jumped in my pool.
Who's they?
Kate and Carol.
The coaches?
Yeah. Fully clothed. And apparently there was like a joke going around. My sister knew it, but they're like, if Danielle commits tonight, we'll jump in the pool.
So you committed that night?
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that would have been an awesome story.
That would have been really funny. But it was funny because I'm like, what is happening? And then they were staying like 5 minutes from our house. So I drove Krista back to get our towels from Kate and Curl, like sopping wet in the lobby. So it was just like very interesting events that like kind of kept me being like, huh, maybe Northwestern. Okay. They jumped in my pool.
Let's segue to your time at Northwestern and your playing career and maybe your mentality around the game. Can you talk about your mentality around softball and how that impacted how you played and your performance and your relationship with your teammates? And I'm asking this because I know we've had many talks and I know you pretty well by now, but I know you had a very different relationship with softball, so maybe dive into that as much as you can.
I'm going to start from when I was like 8.
Okay.
I was a coach's kid. And I cried a ton.
Really?
Yes. Skylar, you know how much I cry.
Danielle does a good job hiding it. But yes, sometimes.
I would be so hard on myself. Like, I remember I was maybe 7, 8. No, I was 8. I was the youngest one on the team. We were on field 1 that doesn't mean anything to you guys, but like that just shows how much I remember it. Yeah. Bases were loaded, 3-2 count. We were down by 1 and I'm up. And I just watched the pitch go down the middle. I'm like, great. I just lost the game for our team. And like, obviously, like, I was in that moment, did have an opportunity to help our team, but then it's just like remembering the rest of the game. It doesn't come down to that single moment. And I feel like I didn't learn that for a while. And so finally understanding that, I don't necessarily know how I became aware of that, but remembering that there's so much more to the game helped me.
Would you say that you got performance anxiety at all from putting so much pressure on yourself?
I wouldn't get performance anxiety. I would just feel all the emotions after. Is that
okay?
Performance anxiety?
No, I would say performance anxiety is more so pre-game.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
And then it usually affects your performance
during
the game.
Yeah, I am good at separating the game and then my emotions now.
Afterward.
Yeah, afterward.
Like the mental and emotional effects.
Yeah.
Would you say that's even true for, I don't know, I'm even thinking about some of your best games. Do you feel like early in your career when you had, I don't know, perfect game or a no-hitter, would you still feel those maybe negative emotions after the game, or was it only when failure occurred during the game?
I would say only when failure occurred. However, my sophomore year maybe, or my junior year, I don't remember when it was, but Michelle, my pitching coach, had me think about some positive parts of the game or good things that I've done or accomplished with our team and stuff. And the only things that were coming to mind were the negative. Those just didn't come to mind at all. The like positive things or like the good things that have happened. And so I just didn't remember them. That makes sense.
This is very interesting to hear from me because you on the mound, I played center field, so I was always behind Danielle, and I felt like we had a really good connection on the field. But I always remember Danielle being very stoic on the mound. You were always very poised, and it looked like nothing really rattled you, good or bad. And so I always took that as, oh, Danielle doesn't care. I know you care, but it's more just like Danielle's just out there having fun. This is just a silly game. And I always felt like that was Danielle's greatest asset, because me being a person who cares so much about what happens and what goes on in the game, I always looked to you and was like, all right, Danielle's really calm right now. Like, yes, this is just a fun game. Like, talk about that, or if I'm wrong about that, like, explain more.
That's also so interesting that you make that point, because I think that's a very common misconception, unless you were very expressive on the field, which Skylar, I know you were very expressive. And
Skylar
awesome.
slammed her helmet after scoring.
Skylar was featured on the team's social media every week for doing something.
They had to take the post down.
They did. I was really mad about that, but maybe later I can pull that video out.
Yeah, we definitely should put that out there somewhere. But I, as a soccer player, I was not very expressive. I was very just like locked into what I was doing. And sometimes people would also take that as I don't care as much.
Yeah, I feel like being balanced through my emotions was very helpful with myself and then also my teammates. I felt like they could come to me for whatever emotion, good or bad. And then, I don't know, I felt like celebrating the good would make me feel the bad more.
Yeah. Can you give me an example?
When I was younger, just like getting really excited over the good and just like feeling the emotions. Like, I know it's so good to feel the emotions, but I'm just gonna keep that to myself until after.
I almost relate to this because if you think you can stay in like a neutral zone, then the bad things you think doesn't work out this way, but you think it won't affect you as much. If you're not celebrating and on some high when you play amazing, then if you have a mistake, you're not going to fall apart.
I felt like it also helped me realize that it's just a game. So the good, it's good, but the bad is also bad. And so recognizing that and not putting pressure on myself to feel all those goods would help me stay away from feeling the bads in the moment. And I felt like I was letting my team down when I would feel the bads.
At what point in your high school or college career did you really learn that and then embrace that from that point forward? Do you feel like there was a turning point, like a game or just a season, or what was the turning point in your mentality?
In high school, I don't remember if there was a specific game, but I just remember losing a game and it was like all my fault. I pitched pretty much every game. So I don't know if it's because I was pitching or like how my mentality would change if I played a different position, but it was ingrained into me that I have control of the ball and where the hitter hits it. So knowing that, like, oh, I gave up a double to let a walk score, that's my fault.
Do you think this is unique to pitchers? I know you said you played a little bit of outfield, but would you feel this immense pressure of you kind of have control of this large part of the game as a pitcher versus being in the outfield?
I honestly don't know. Everyone feels that pressure. So, Skylar, we've talked about it. You've talked about like an at-bat that like, you think messed up the game. And I'm like, no way. When I see it like, talking to someone else, I'm like, what? There's 21 outs in a game.
Isn't it funny that outside perspective, but when you're in your head, not only do you think it's all your fault, but you think everyone around you also thinks the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's like the beauty of playing a team sport is, especially at the collegiate level, I feel like at a younger age, you do really embody that, like, oh my gosh, I lost the game. Because you're probably the best player on your team when you're that young, right? So yeah, when something really bad happens, you're like, oh, I lost the game. But then once you come into that realm of where everyone's good around you, it's very enlightening and really freeing to realize, okay, other people are also feeling this way. My one mistake didn't necessarily cost us the game. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something really cool.
And then just to transition, at one point you were ranked the best pitcher in the NCAA. Did getting that accolade boost your confidence or help you navigate those mistakes or getting in your head about a mistake in the game, or did it escalate those feelings because now you have this reputation?
The next season was horrible. Absolutely horrible. It was not fun. I did not want to be there. Michelle knew that.
Why didn't you want to be there? What was kind of going through your head?
I didn't feel like I was putting too much pressure on myself. Like, it didn't feel like any more than I used to do, I guess, from like the previous season. We watched film. I think just more teams were watching more film, like knew what pitches I threw and all that. And so they came more prepared than they did last year because I was a freshman. They didn't have as much film on me. And I didn't really realize that. And so I was just like, my pitches aren't working. Like, I can't locate it. I can't spin it. All this. They're just hitting me. My changeup isn't working, which is the pitch I rely on because I don't throw very hard. And so I was like, well, this is stupid. Why am I even pitching? I'm letting up so many runs. The coaches keep giving me this chance, and I'm losing the game for my teammates and stuff. And so that's why I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be there like with the team, obviously. I didn't want to pitch, which I had never felt before.
I'm glad we touched on this topic because I also vividly remember that season. This was Danielle's and I's sophomore year now, and this was right before COVID, but we did really well our freshman year. We ended up going to super regionals. We played Oklahoma, unfortunately. We lost, whatever. But yeah, Danielle did great her freshman year. I think our whole class really did amazing things, and I think there's something to say about the sophomore year slump. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like a realization like, oh, wow, we did this great thing, and then you add a bunch of pressure to yourself and your team, and now you have higher expectations, and then, like you said, you have this additional, oh my God, now people are watching. People are watching what I'm doing. They know me now. And then it's interesting to see you kind of come out of that. So maybe what was that transition after not so great of a season, myself included? How was that transition from a not so great season to coming out of COVID, we'll say 2022 season, so now our senior year?
I'm going to say something that people are not going to agree with and people may not like, but COVID was such a blessing for me because I never came out of that slump during that season. So 2022 was like, who cares? Like, what am I going to lose? I already did horrible before.
And mind you, Danielle's idea of horrible is not horrible at all. This is Danielle being hard on herself again.
But I also think that's important to know, the point you just made, which is when you feel like you've hit rock bottom, sometimes that's what you need to just be like, you know what, fuck it. Like, it can't get worse than this. Mm-hmm. So then maybe some of that pressure goes away. I also want to know if you changed up your pitches, because you said previously they weren't working and that COVID was a blessing. So did you do anything different specifically?
I have a screw. Screw goes into a lefty. And it keeps going towards the lefty. Okay. My screw started curving back. And so people thought I had a backdoor curve. And I think my sophomore year when they started hitting me more, I think we started to try and develop a real backdoor curve, which then made my curve not good going into a righty instead of staying on the outside corner and just ending up on the outside corner.
Basically, your pitch was going the opposite direction that it should have been.
Yeah, and so trying to make that a real pitch and then also have my screw stay in the picture, it just made my curve go downhill, and it was just like floaty and not very sharp. And so finally realizing that, I was like, I don't need to throw it back to a curve. I was successful with what I had, and I just need to make those better and change up kind of the mindset of how I was going to throw them. So when Michelle was on maternity leave, she put me in charge of calling my own pitches from the mound, which she typically does. She calls the pitches from the dugout, and then the catcher relays it to me.
Does that happen during practice and during games?
Yes, just during the fall, though. And so
We also had Lena Han come in and was kind of our substitute pitching coach.
she focuses a ton on the mental game, which was very helpful. She helped me with my rise ball, helped me with not really caring. She's like, you have so many cool things that you've done in your career. Like, why focus on the bad? She's amazing. I love her. But being able to call my own pitches really helped me understand what I wanted to throw, why I wanted to throw it, and believe that I can throw it and get someone out with it. And so that was very helpful in going into the season, because that was just fall.
Can you maybe explain how that would work? Because people who don't know, like Madison, how softball, baseball works. So normally pitching coach Michelle would call a pitch, relay it to Jordan, our catcher. Jordan would then relay it to Danielle, and Danielle would be like yes or no, mostly always saying yes.
Relaying, are these done with like hand motions?
Yeah.
Yes, so we have like hand signals for each different pitch. How do you call your own pitches?
I called it by touching my face. No one really on the team knew, because
When you told me, I was like, what the hell?
yeah, because like I was throwing live at bats to them, so the only people that knew were the catchers, and so Jordan would look away when she's up to bat. She'd still hit a bomb off me because it's Jordan. But I would briefly touch my face, like with what side I would want it on would be what hand I'm holding the ball in. So it was very subtle.
So you started calling your own pitches. You had Leanie there helping you with your mindset. Okay, we go on winter break after we do fall training, and then boom, it's our senior season after what seems like a long 2 years of like kind of a shitstorm. What the hell is this program? What am I doing? What is this team doing? And then now we're here, we're seniors. We have a lot of seniority, we have a lot of leadership.
I feel as a class, when we first came in, we were all so different. I was terrified. Skylar was an instant leader. In the best, like, such a good way. You had a voice, which I wish I had, and you just came in with so much confidence. And so I was like, what the heck did I get myself into? Like, these people are so good, so out there, and I'm just, like, in my little bubble. And so
Danielle, your little bubble is being the best pitcher in the nation.
But we finally connected throughout the next 4 years, and we're like, this is the last time we're all gonna play together. Let's just go out there and give it our all. What do we have to lose? We lost a season already. We probably didn't perform the best the season before. Let's just go play with our best friends, pretty much. I felt like that was the main perspective from everyone.
That's exactly what you talked about, Skylar.
Yeah, in a previous episode, I said the same thing. We had nothing to lose. It was almost like that time apart. It was really good for us. It was really a blessing, like you said. It made us realize how special this game is and how it can bring people together. And we knew that this was going to be the last time we were all going to be together, including Rachel, which I feel like was a very integral part of the game and our team. And I just feel like you had a lot of highs. Maybe you don't want to call them highs, but I feel like you had a lot of highs during that season. Do you remember any particular game or series that really sticks out to you for 2022?
Oh, we made it to the World Series.
This is why I love Danielle, because she's so... Do you guys see what I'm saying? Like, she's so nonchalant. She's like, oh, I guess, yeah, we did go to the World Series. Like, what?
I thought ASU was fun. I mean, the environment was against us. No one wanted us to win there besides maybe 100 people that were right above our dugout, which makes Northwestern so special, just like the alums sticking together. But I think those games were fun, and it tested us a little.
The super regional games?
Yeah.
Against Arizona State? Mm-hmm. I wanted to kind of segue to that, so I'm very happy you said those games stuck out to you. So what sticks out to me in that game is I know you pitched 500 some pitches. So
we were kind of riding Danielle's back.
Okay.
Honestly, the entire series.
Can we back up for people that are not familiar with the softball stat?
Yeah.
What is a normal amount to pitch in a single weekend or in a situation like that? So we can just kind of give context.
I would say a good pitcher on a good team who's like their ace or even number 2. What would you say? You're pitching 150 pitches a game?
Yeah,
Maybe?
I would say a little lower. I was always taught try to get 12 pitch innings. Which is so it really depends on what type of pitcher you are, because some people go in there and they just like hammer through the first 9, and then someone else comes in and has a completely different set of pitches, different look when people come up to bat. So it kind of just depends.
So 500. How did your arm feel?
Honestly, my arm was fine. It was
Really?
my legs.
Okay, so you pitched over 500 pitches in a series. That's an extreme amount. This other team we were playing, they had 4 aces, I would say. They had 4 really good pitchers, and the first game of this series was Friday. We ended up going to 10 innings, and we ended up coming out with the win. But, like, talk about that game. You probably threw, 150, 175 pitches in that game alone.
I feel like in the dugout, I just try to keep it calm and loose. I don't really think too much about what's happening or what I need to do or need to fix, because there's things you can fix in the moment, but you can't fix mechanics. You can't add a new pitch. So, knowing that I've prepared already, I've done everything I can, allows me to be more confident going in. And so having that was helpful, but then also looking behind, my teammates are here too. They have to sit through 10 innings. I think it was the 8th inning. I was Lauren Boyd, one of the other pitchers, one of my best friends. We joke a lot in the dugout. I'm like, dude, I have to go to the bathroom so badly. Or I don't know if it was a bathroom or I was hungry or just tired.
These are real issues, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'm so superstitious. I'm like, if I go to the bathroom now, we're going to lose the game. If I went to the bathroom in the first inning and we won that game, I'd have to go to the bathroom in the first inning the next game. Fruit snacks. We have so many fruit snacks. That was an issue with me.
Eating too many fruit snacks?
Yeah. So, okay, so you had to go to the bathroom. Okay.
So I was like, this needs to hurry up.
Daniel's like, come on, guys, score so I can go pee.
Yeah, so I feel like I was just more focused on that rather than the game, which just takes pressure off.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so we ended up winning the first game. Second game comes around. We actually lost in 8 innings. Okay, third game. This is winner takes all. Talk about that third game, how it started off, and where it went.
Again, just like sophomore season, it started horrible. After the first inning, which I did complete, I went up to Lauren Boyd again, who I sit next to in the dugout.
What happened in the first inning?
It was just hit after hit, maybe walks. I think it was walks.
Maybe a couple home runs in there.
Was it first pitch?
I think so.
Yeah, that was fun.
That's brutal.
Yeah, we went down 5-0 first inning in this last game. We're like, what the hell?
Yeah. I went up to Lauren and I was like, I didn't think I was going to get out of that. And I don't know why I'm still in. But I think with the coaches keeping me in, it gave me confidence to continue the game.
They trust you to reverse things.
Yeah. And so obviously I can't reverse it and make those runs go away, but I can hopefully hold them to 5 or 6, whatever it ended up being, to allow my teammates to get runs on the board. And 5 in the first inning is already lose hope immediately.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I feel like we touched on this earlier, but I remember that moment. I was with Rachel Lewis in right field. We were just, that happened. We're not sitting there Danielle, wow, you just blew it. That was never a point. It was all collectively what the fuck just happened? Oh my God, this is the last game and Rachel and I are going to end it here. This is going to be the last game we'll ever play together. Is this it? Are we going to lose? What the fuck? There's 2 ways you can go, right? There's pressure on yourself. You almost grip the ball too hard, or there's just this, well, what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. Who cares now? We got nothing to lose at this point. So Did you feel that was also your mindset?
Yeah. When I was younger, my parents were coaching. I looked up to my parents. I would always look at the dugout. I also got the signs from the dugout, but even after a hit or something, I'd look at the dugout. Those coaches' kids.
Coach kid syndrome.
Yeah, honestly. Eventually, my mom was like, you can't do that anymore. That's ridiculous. And so I stopped, but I felt myself starting to do that in that game, asking
in
for
that
help.
first inning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Asking for help. I don't know what to do.
That's really interesting that you said that, because never once, again, Danielle being very stoic, never once did I look at Danielle and I was like, wow, she's freaking out. Or like, wow, she looks like she's going down the tank.
I felt myself starting to do that. And then Maeve, who I heard her wrong because she's like, I would never say that to you. But I heard her come up to me kind of behind me because I walked to the end of the circle, kind of look around. I was looking around a lot more with those runs on the board. But I looked at Maeve and she's like, you're better than this. And she says, she didn't say it, but that's what I heard and probably what I needed to hear in that moment.
Wow, I have chills.
Yeah.
That's
And
kinda,
so
that's cool.
being able to hear that from a teammate and not be like, what? Why would you say that? Like all this, like it just shows like how much trust we have in everyone. And so
that's so important to be able to, one, feel comfortable saying that to your teammate.
Yeah.
But also on the receiving end, just taking a step back and being like, she's right.
Yeah. She says that it was at the ump. The ump is better than this. Or like, you're better than this. Like those pitches are actually strikes, like that type of thing. But I think I just needed to hear it the way I took it.
That's cool. So that maybe was the turning point for you, but what happened after that?
I think I got my crap together and was like, my team needs me right now. I can't just keep giving up these runs. Like, that's dumb. And we're not going to end that way. Even if we do lose, I need to put a stop to that so then I can actually give my teammates a chance.
Yeah. And eventually we did come back. We won. I think it was like 8-5 or 8-6. We ended up winning that game. We go to the World Series. So we got a private jet from our athletic director. He made it happen for us, Dr. Greg. Thanks, Dr. G, for getting us a private jet. But yeah, so we were in Tempe. We won the series. We did not get the chance to go back to Chicago. We flew right from Tempe to OKC, Oklahoma City. We were going to compete in the World Series starting Thursday. So we got there Monday afternoonish. And was it this flight, Danielle, that you threw up, or was it on the way home?
I threw up going to Oklahoma.
Okay.
Skylar is the best person to sit next to. Let's just say that.
So Danielle and I are on this plane, and Danielle gets a little motion sickness sometimes. And I was sitting next to Danielle, and we're about to land, and there was some turbulence. And Danielle, the whole flight was just like not looking great. Like she was kind of just acting weird. I was like, what's going on?
Can we back up?
Yes.
Yeah, can we back up to the first flight to ASU?
Yes.
That flight was terrifying. Yes. I didn't feel nauseous. I felt like I was going to pass out, and I was overheating. It was so small. So the one that we got to ASU was a little bit bigger, right?
So we ended up getting 3 private jets.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a really small one going from Chicago to ASU. It was really small, really hot, just really compact.
And we got, what did we get?
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, which
We never get Chick-fil-A.
I just decided I liked yesterday.
Oh.
But I can't stand the smell of like fast food type of stuff. So that just like consumed the plane, and which made things 10 times worse for me.
Okay, so we win the series. Also, it was a brutal series. Like, it was really, really hot. We were probably all dehydrated. It was late. We didn't get any sleep after that night. It was just bad. So yeah, we hop on this flight. We take off, turbulence right away. Things smooth out. The plane is a little bit bigger, a little bit more comfy, but not really. Then we start to land, turbulence again. And I look over at Danielle, and she's kind of like rocking back and forth.
Oh, no.
With her sweatshirt. And I'm just like, oh my God, are you okay? And Danielle's like, no. She just shakes her head. I'm like, okay. So then I reach in the pouch in front of the seat, and I'm grabbing this doggy bag. It was like a plastic bag, and I'm like, here, take it.
I'm so glad Skylar was next to me because I didn't know they had throw up bags on the plane.
Oh, you didn't?
No, because I would have thrown up. I was getting ready to throw up in my sweatshirt.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't know that.
Skylar
Yeah.
went total mom mode.
Yeah,
She
I
did.
did. So
Yeah.
I whip out this thing. I hand it to Danielle. Danielle's throwing up. I'm like rubbing her back.
Yeah.
And then after Danielle's done, I take the bag from her and I just hold it over the aisle. And everyone around us is like, what the fuck is going on?
Someone yelled
Yeah.
as we were going down. They're like, Danielle, are you okay? And then someone was like,
Skylar's holding it up like
"Hold
a
the
prize
puke
fish.
bag."
Yes, I was just holding it in the aisle. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, Danielle threw up!" It was just so crazy.
It
Such
was
a terrible
rough.
event.
Yeah, I honestly think it was just because it was so dry in Arizona, but I was coughing up a small amount of blood in the morning.
shit.
So that was, it didn't start the morning good.
I'm so sorry that happened to you, Danielle. One thing I did want to hear from you is about pitching a perfect game. It's something not every pitcher does in their career, and it's a super special moment, and obviously you have to be very good to pull this off. Can you tell me what that was like? And when you got through a certain amount of innings, did you start to feel like, oh, I can make it into a perfect game, or was that not even a thought until the very end?
That was Iowa?
Iowa.
What year was that?
Danielle's had so many almost perfect games
She doesn't
or
even know
no
what
hitters
this is.
against
Cool.
Iowa.
Another-
It finally came true though, senior year, just like the pinnacle of things. But yeah, so she finally pitched a perfect game against Iowa.
I happened at DePaul, and we were winning by a lot. And I was like, why aren't they pulling me out? And then Boyd was like, why are they keeping you in? My shoulder was torn. She's like, why are they keeping you in? I was like, at this point, I realized, I was like, I don't know.
I don't know.
So, yeah, but they ended up taking me out because I gave up a hit or something, or I hit a batter.
The one senior year, did you realize throughout the game, or was it not until after?
I honestly don't remember. No, I did know.
Did that put pressure on you for the rest of the game once you like mentally was like, oh, this could happen?
Maybe a little. I think that I've blown it before, and if I blow it again, so what? We're still probably going to win. The coaches weren't really putting any expectations on me to get a perfect game or whatever.
I know you talked about you being injured. So yeah, late in your career, you got injured. What was it like playing that next season being injured?
I went to pitch, and I was like, that doesn't feel right. And so I just stopped, and I was like, I'm going to just try later.
Was this in the summer before we came? Okay.
Yeah. And so there are times where I've like stopped throwing and then I start throwing and it doesn't feel the best. And I'm like, I just need to work through it. If it's sore, if I throw more, it's just going to feel better. That's throwing overhand. Like throwing overhand gets rid of like any soreness for pitching. So like, that's why I always throw long and stuff. And it just like wasn't really going away.
And then you get an MRI.
Yeah.
And then you find out. And then what's like the course of action? Like I know like there was like grumblings on the team. There was like, oh my God, Danielle's hurt. And like, knowing that Danielle was our best pitcher at the time, we were like, is she okay? Like, what's our plan? What's going on? Were you freaking out? Or what was the plan from then on to compete that last season of ours?
It was interesting because I feel like some people on the team just didn't know.
Really?
Yeah. Because they're like, well, like, why aren't you throwing overhand? Or like, I'm like, oh, I'm just as hurting.
So does that mean you were continuing practices as normal?
I stopped pretty much doing everything.
Yeah, Danielle didn't throw literally at all the entire fall.
I love being with my team. I don't like practicing. I have never liked practicing. My parents would have to be like, oh, let's go practice. And I'd be like crying, throwing a fit.
Can we talk more about that?
Yeah.
What was the reason?
It just like wasn't fun to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is the point of this? Obviously, they're getting better and like practice works, which is what Ellis Strohan says.
I also feel like you're just a competitor.
Yeah.
Like, you just want to compete, and I'm kind of the same way. But like, practice was hard. There's always like different speed that you get to when you're actually playing. Hard to like replicate that in practice.
And I slowly got like weaved out of things at practice, and so like I was put in like a corner.
Put in a corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
But actually,
Yeah.
my fifth year, I was put against the wall, throw a ball against the wall. It was horrible because Kate, I love you, Kate. She had me throw a ball against the wall. I was throwing with my right hand because I couldn't throw with my left hand, and I was like fielding it. I just start crying because I couldn't throw the ball against the, like I can't throw right-handed. I'm a lefty.
Yeah.
And Jordan comes and sits next to me. I think it was Jordan. And she's like, what's going on? I was like, Kate wants me to throw a ball against the wall, and I can't even throw it against the wall because it's with my right hand, like all this. And so I was very limited to what I could do at practice. And like, having my fifth year be like that was, this is pointless. It's not what I wanted it to be. I don't want to go through rehab to just sit at practice for my last year. So I know, Skylar, you were in the training room all the time. You're amazing for that. And I just like did not want to do that. And I'm sure you didn't want to either.
No, but it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, you have to get there way earlier, go to the training room, and then especially for you, I mean, everyone, maybe not everyone noticed, but like I noticed, like they wouldn't let Danielle do anything. Like, Danielle, I feel like really did find a lot of joy in like shagging or hitting randomly or doing random stuff, and they wouldn't let her do anything. Like, she was literally in timeout.
Now, was that specifically just to preserve you for the spring as much as possible?
It was because of my arm and trying to like just let it heal, because the subscap heals on its own, and then they were trying to do rehab
On the bicep.
only on the bicep tendon, and I'm sure the subs got too, but I think they were trying to just like only do rehab, and we're not going to put any other force or pressure or whatever on your arm from like pitching, throwing, hitting, like that type of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was taken out of everything in practice, which I understand. Like, that's what they had to do.
Right. But still super frustrating,
Yeah.
especially your senior year.
Yeah.
But I assume you came back.
Mm-hmm. I was deciding between surgery and the injection.
Okay.
I think I could have made it back with the surgery. It just depended on how bad the bicep tendon was, I think. It was like, if surgery goes well, I would have been able to make it back with the end of the season, which I'd rather just try for the injection and hope that works. And so that's what I did. And it worked. It didn't work for the whole season. I felt it every once in a while, but it was a lot better than before.
So how is managing being injured and playing and still having a really good season and eventually taking us to the super regionals once again? I'm sure you felt it like when you were playing, but what was that like?
I don't know, honestly. It was difficult because, well, Clemson is the first time I pitched in a game. Was that our first tournament?
Played Texas that first weekend, and we were like,
yeah.
oh my God, like, we won without Danielle. Holy shit.
You guys just came to the realization, like, that was possible.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of bad, but we knew how much success we had when Danielle was on the mound because like, we knew we could hit, but we also knew we needed a pitcher that would keep it low scoring and like, keep us in games, especially against good teams. And like, Danielle was that person for us. And that is on the defense. We need to do a better job at just like staying the same no matter who's pitching. But like, we had a lot of confidence in Danielle, and we definitely did have our best games when Danielle was on the mound. So
I think it was nice being able to see the confidence of you guys on the field and in the dugout, obviously, but playing a good team like that and being able to win it.
totally.
Because I'm like, you guys are so good. Like,
yeah.
you don't need me.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to try to wrap this up. Obviously, you were that point person for Northwestern, like, huge part of their success. Extremely successful on your own. Once again, one of the best pitchers in the nation. Probably the best pitcher in the nation during your career. But you
Danielle was like shaking her head over here like, no, but yes.
But yes.
She's too humble.
But you decided not to play pro, which obviously that could have been a easy segue and you could have continued your career. Did you get to a point where you felt burnt out by the end of your final season? Did you decide you just wanted to do other things? What was your thought process there?
I had never really thought about pro until people asked. Growing up, I didn't watch the World Series. I was like, what is that? Like, oh, like, we made it to the World Series, cool.
Cool.
Like,
Yeah,
it's national,
yeah.
so it's like PGF.
It's
type of thing.
it's crazy because everyone's like, oh my gosh, isn't this what you dreamed about when you were like 8 years old? And I'm like, no.
I'm like,
No,
Not
why
really.
is that, do you think? Because I know as a soccer player, like, making it to the World Cup or, like, the Olympics is what 8-year-old little soccer players dream of. So
Yeah.
why is that different? Do you think just because there's less publicity around the World Series, less people watch it?
I feel like I was able to control the TV when I was younger. So I was able to put on what I wanted to put on. And I feel like with kids that have dreamed of going to the World Series or like dream of going to the World Series, their parents put it on, possibly. So I never really saw it at all. Not until I got older. Softball wasn't really talked about in the household. So it was just like where you are now and how you're going to grow from there, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when it came to your decision time, where was your head at?
Well, I was asked to play, what is it?
Athletes Unlimited?
That.
Okay.
Or I was asked about it. And then I was asked to play for the USA to just sub in for
The
Monica.
US team.
Yeah, Monica
Okay.
Abbott.
Wait, can you repeat that?
Yeah.
So
What?
you were asked to sub in on the U.S. national team?
Yeah, they wanted like another lefty pitcher. So
Okay.
that's why, yeah.
Cool.
But you turned it down.
I did turn it down. Well, one, I wanted to teach. I wanted to be an elementary school teacher. Not going well now because I'm not in that program anymore. I also, my shoulder was hurting and I didn't love how it was feeling and I didn't
Yeah.
want to put that on myself again.
So it was partly physical, partly you just felt like that chapter of your life had come to a close and you wanted to try something new?
Yeah, I feel like I had been waiting to close that chapter for a while. But
Do you have any regrets about it now, or you are so happy, like, that was an awesome period of your life, but you don't necessarily miss softball or don't regret that decision?
playing pro, or
Yes.
yeah, no, I do not.
Where are you at now in life? What are you doing? And how has the transition away from sport and collegiate sport been for you?
It's been different than what I would have imagined. I have been giving pitching lessons, which I was like, what? Like, I have no idea. Well, I guess I do because I am giving pitching lessons. But, like, to me, I don't understand mechanics, that type of stuff. But I think, like, deep down I do. I just need to, like, get it out of me.
So was this like a new like learning curve, learning the mechanics on the back end because now you're teaching them?
Yeah, and just, like, figuring out different ways to teach them. I think that with my elementary program, I think that was helpful because every kid learns differently.
Yeah.
And so understanding that, like, some people hit their spot by looking at it. Some people need a little mechanic adjustment, like that type of thing. And so trying to understand the person I am giving a lesson to.
Now, did you never see yourself coaching softball?
No. And people are like, do you want your kids to play softball? I'm like, obviously they're probably going to play softball. But I'm like, no, I'm going to keep them as far away from it.
So what brought you back to teaching softball?
It was an easy way to make money, honestly.
It's an easy
that's
grab.
so
Yeah,
fair.
I do enjoy it because the girls that I have are awesome and they're fun, and it just reminds me of my pitching lessons with my pitching coach, which I absolutely loved. My pitching coach would make me think about Justin Bieber when I pitched.
Aw.
So just, like, helping them understand it's more than a sport.
If you could leave one piece of advice for either people who are entering college sports or college softball world, or maybe just in the middle of it, or even just wrapping up, what piece of advice would you leave them?
I feel like people tell you it's just a game, but don't actually mean it with the way they should mean it, I guess. So I would say, remember that it truly is just a game. It's for fun. You're going out there with some of your best friends that you're going to have for life, and you're playing a game that I hope you love and enjoy, and just don't put pressure on yourself. If you're nervous, it, like, means something to you. So literally just go out there and have fun, and don't let the outside put pressure on you.
Email us, DM us, reach out to us, and we look forward to next week. But thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate all of you. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of the socials, and just follow along with our story. Okay. Bye.